This video is about creating a vapor barrier underneath the house. We're going to have we're going to spray for termites. And so one of the things they recommend is after they spray for termites under the crawl space is put a vapor barrier down and then put some kind of stakes down so that the plastic doesn't move around. And so I was looking at one of the big box stores, looking at their stakes that they have, and there were some landscape stakes, and they were really thin wire, and they were only about 4 inches tall. So if you stake them down, they only go down about 4 inches. And so one of the things that I heard is that you can use some of the insulation support sticks that they have that you put under like a crawl space, or maybe up in an attic or something. And so you can bend these and get something that's about 7 inches long and about 1.5 to 2 inches wide. These sticks are 15.5 inches, so if you go 7 and 7, that gives you about 1.5 inches in the middle. And so what I'm doing is I am taking these. Let me find a decent one here. This one's about decent. That's about 7 inches. And so then I just take some kind of pliers, bend it, go over about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then bend again. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just something that I could put in the ground. Okay, the termite inspection guy, he's done spraying the two 14 by 40 structures, or at least the foundations for them. So here we go. That stuff you see there is the stuff that they sprayed that hasn't soaked in yet. That should keep the little termites away. So that's what we have on this building. The guy wasn't here 15-20 minutes. I figured they'd be here at least a little bit longer than that, but they just come out and spray. And then, so I'm going to put down some plastic and then some anchors to help hold down the plastic. I finished with the Rose house, and this is the way it looks. They say to get it to within 6 inches of the wall, and so that's pretty much what I've done all the way around. There's one or two places there to where it looks like I didn't make it 6 inches, but I think that's okay. And so for the anchors, what I did was I used some insulation rods that you would use to put the insulation like under your floor in a crawl space. And I bent those in half, and I've got part of a video that shows some of that. Actually, I may include that right before this little clip. And so what I also did was use sill plate gasket that comes in about 50 foot, 5.5 inches wide, and I cut those in strips about 6 inches long, and then doubled them over and put the insulation rod that I had made like a little staple out of, put those in. That seems to work pretty well. That's really holding it down, and I'm pretty happy with it. We'll have to see in the long run how it works, but so far it looks okay. I was walking on it and it didn't really seem to bother it too much. It seemed to stay in. And so crawling around may be a different story, but it seems to hold it down better than not having the sill plate gasket stuff on there at all. I think it just helps it a little bit. It probably will help it not to rip nearly as quickly. So there we go. Once I get done with the other, I'll show some of that too. House, I'm not completely done. I ran out of the sill plate gaskets stuff, so it's about $7.50 at Lowe's or Home Depot for 50 foot of it. So I'll go buy another 50 foot, and so that way I can complete this. It's probably about halfway done. Here in the middle, I've got a little bit of a little cavity here, so that way it makes it a little easier for me to move around. I'm tempted not to put too many stakes in there because I don't want it filling up with water, and so kind of tempted in a way just to put more on the sides, and then I may get some kind of mats or something to put a little bit in there to help with the walkway, and hopefully that will help with the issue of it pulling the plastic and stuff like that. But I'll probably put some more around the edges to help keep it in place, and if I do put some in the inside here, I'll put them on the high places so that way it's less likely to get a lot of water on the inside here. I can always add them later. That's the way I look at it. I can always add them later if I do see that some of them aren't getting pulled up or it's starting to cause problems. I can always add them, but once I put them in, that hole is always going to be there. So I'd rather not have a lot of holes and possibly it collect a lot of water. And so that's probably the way I'm going to proceed. The other two doesn't really need a lot of low places like that, so I kind of put the little staple things, anchor things throughout it every 3 or 4 foot to help hold it down. In the guest house, I haven't done that yet. They said that they're going to have to bring out another truck to do that type of work, but for these open new construction stuff, they can do it the way that he did it, which was just standing up and spraying.